Hey guys, it's Shannon from That DIY Couple, where we make videos about becoming the best versions of ourselves. Parents. We all have them. They brought us into this world. It's our job to escort them out of it with grace. As we get older, our parents also get older, unfortunately. And as they near their twilight, their golden years, sometimes they have to deal with things like health issues, and eventually everybody in this world passes away. Now, I've learned from the experience of a couple of friends who have parents that are quite a bit older than me, and some of the things that I've been gathering and learning are that a failure to plan for this major life event, getting old and eventually passing away, can lead to a lot of stress at a time when you are either having to deal with the acute stress of caring for a dying parent or with the acute stress of grieving the loss of a parent. So what we're talking about today is things that we can do and conversations that we can have with our parents while they are still alive and while they are still well that will make caring for them as they near the end of their lives and their golden years and any health ailments that they might have more easy and less stressful. So we're going to have a special guest today, my mom, and we're going to talk about this together with her. Let's get into it.
Hi there, I'm Barbara and I'm Shannon's mother, and the purpose of our discussion this evening is to help the younger generation have a checklist of things that they should know before a person becomes incapacitated, very ill, or passes away. It will facilitate having property pass outside of probate, which is an extended process legally, and it will facilitate making sure that all final matters are attended to. The first thing that you need to take is an account of all assets, whether a person has, and they should have, a will, if they are so inclined, an advanced healthcare directive, which tells your loved one, your designee, what to do in a set of events, such as if you are going on life support and are not expected to survive, for instance.
So let's take a step back. So it can be a little bit awkward to talk about, health issues and end-of-life stuff.
Sure.
My mom and I are right now on a vacation in Cancun, and
what better place?
What better place than on the middle of our girls' trip to discuss her untimely, terrible demise?
But
my mom is healthy and vibrant right now.
Right.
And I think that, I just sort of brought up that some of my friends were struggling with this, and we said, what can we do? Let's sit down. Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. And
Definitely.
I think it was actually like a really empowering conversation.
It was very empowering, and I personally feel that as the mother, I owe this information to my daughter, because she'll be the one who's bearing the cross of taking care of me and making medical decisions, as well as, to the extent there are any assets, going through the extended process of paying all final bills and transferring property and such. So a checklist was developed, and I will let daughter tell you.
So I'm going to link to you guys a checklist of things that you can talk about with your loved ones. We'll talk about like a high level, the sorts of things we talked about, but I'm going to give you guys a link, and it's going to be very easy for you to follow. Sit down with your mom, sit down with your dad, go through it. You're going to be happy that you did. But I think at a really high level, the sorts of questions that you want to talk about are like, what do you want me to do? If you're ill and you're incapacitated and I need to make decisions on your behalf, what are your desires? What are your wants? And that should be a conversation that you have first, and then later that should be put down to paper in the form of what's called an advanced directive. An advanced directive is when a person in their right mind makes decisions about how they want their health care to go later. Because the worst thing you want to have to do is try to figure out what's the right decision and what would this person want. And I was surprised because for myself, I'm kind of like, keep me alive no matter what, never let me die. And my mom surprised me by telling me what you said.
I said, if I can't take care of my grandbabies, then cut me off, and I want express checkout.
Right. So I would not have been my, I didn't know that was what she wanted. So I'm glad we had that conversation. And she said, never feel guilty. I've had a good life.
Exactly.
It was actually a very
Liberating.
Like, I think that having to ever pull the cord on anybody would be like the most terrible and heart-wrenching decision, and I hope I never have to do that. But, you know, she had this conversation with me where she's like, listen, I've had this amazing life, and I really value my cogency, my ability to make rational decisions and think. And if you think that I'm in a situation where I'm going to be a vegetable for months and months and years, I just don't want that. And that was
Precisely.
Good to know what you want.
That's right. We also need a power of attorney. Discuss that, Shannon.
Yeah, so another thing that can be tough is if somebody's incapacitated towards the end of their life, paying bills on their behalf and, you know, dealing with their landlord if they have one, or their credit cards or their bank, things like that can be really difficult. So what you want to do is you want to set up, while the person is alive, a durable power of attorney that can be used in the event of their incapacitation or, you know, inability to do things for themselves.
And obviously we're not giving legal advice. You would consult an attorney if it's at all complicated. The other thing is that obviously will would be prudent.
I should note that my mom is also an attorney.
But I'm not practicing
We're both
right
lawyers.
Yeah, we're both lawyers. Yeah, it runs in the family. So you would need a will, perhaps some trust instruments, depending upon, of course, how complicated your estate is. We happen to have handicapped people in our family, so Shannon will bear the cross of taking care of making decisions for her handicapped siblings. So those sorts of nuances, or maybe you're doing this with a parent, but grandparents still remain alive and cogent and doing fine, but you need to have an intergenerational conversation about this.
Yeah, there's things that you need to talk about with people.
Yeah.
Because they need to be involved in their own care too.
That's right.
Because you want everybody to be happy. One thing that I was really glad that we did was that we went to my mom's old employer, and we talked about her pension benefits, and I was on the phone with her employer, and we talked through the benefits administrator for her old employer, and we talked about her benefits and what remains after she's passes and what I have to do. Like, I have to send a death certificate.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of little formalities that I wouldn't have known about in the event of both her illness. We talked, what would happen if she got sick? What would happen if she passed away? What would I have to do? And one of the things that I'm really glad we learned is that we called and my mom said, you know, I think that I have this medical that's going to cover your handicapped brother for the rest of his life when I pass. And then we called together, and the woman said, oh, no, that only applies to surviving spouses.
And then I said, check, because that's not my understanding.
Right. And I immediately said, oh, okay, fine. And then we hung up, and my mom was like, I don't think she's right.
Exactly.
So we called back, and my mom insisted. She said, I think I was told that he would always get that because he was handicapped.
Right.
And then she put us on hold, and 2 minutes later she comes back and she said, oh, that's right. He gets it for life because he's handicapped.
And that could be worth thousands and thousands and thousands.
I mean, literally, like tens of thousands. My brother has very high medical bills. It saved me literally tens of thousands of dollars a year that I would have otherwise just thought, if my mom wasn't around and I had to make that conversation by myself, I would have thought, okay, she must have been mistaken about that.
Right.
And I'm really happy we did that together.
And, you know, you live your life and you don't tell your kids every little nuance, so they don't have a clue what your usernames or passwords or websites or how to access accounts, anything relative to special needs, grandparents, property. Do you hold property in joint tenancy with people? Who else has authority? What can your child do? Should you be changing deeds and instruments? All of these things.
Do you have life insurance? Do you have life insurance
Disability
on other
insurance.
people? Do you have long-term care health insurance? Do you have, you know, what are the things in your life that your kids are going to need to know about?
Precisely. You want to make it as easy as possible because you know the emotive will be hard. Yeah, at least you're hoping they love you and they're going to be bummed if you pass. But kidding aside, it's very important to communicate. And you don't think of it. It's just not something that's intuitive till you sit down and have this conversation. So go to Cancun, meet your daughter, and have this conversation.
Yeah, guys. So we'll link to you the checklist that we developed. I hope that you find it useful. Please let us comment down below and let us know whether or not you've had these sorts of conversations with your loved ones, or if you haven't, and what your experience has been either way. If you're, scared to bring this up, let us know that down below. If your parents have, unfortunately passed and you had to deal with this on your own, I'd be curious to know what some of the difficulties you had were and what you wish you had asked while they were alive.
Because we might not have thought of everything, so please add to the list. And please excuse my sunburn. I went out in the sun today.
My mom had a great day in Cancun. Thanks, guys. Until next time, do well.
Thanks for having Mom.
Always make things better.
Bye now.
Bye.